Hey everybody, welcome back. We are doing another Loki video. This time it is on episode 5. We're going to hit up that recap, talk about all the theories we got, tons of Easter eggs in this episode. It was honestly amazing. What are they setting up for? I'm sure there's a million different theories. I know mine's going to be right, Mike's going to be wrong, and Eddie's going to tell us, what he thinks. And, he'll probably mediate a little bit, but Mike's definitely wrong. So anyway, if you're new to the channel, check out the Discord link in the description below. Follow along for the channel. Got a couple other channels out there for gaming, etc. So let's go see what they all think.
Bring me Wolverthor!
Looks like, come on.
What's up, dudes? I was very complimentary of both of you in your theories. So just so you know, you guys can't hear anything when I'm shooting the intro, right?
No.
Totally quiet. All right, good. So how's Loki? So episode 5, Easter Egg City, which we'll touch as we go along. But holy cow, Mike, I think you mentioned when we were talking off air a little bit how this is like the best episode to have something like that, because it's just like none of it really matters. It's just in this like throwaway zone, which I do love. I hope that at some point, depending how this show plays out, that there's other people who visit the void and we can get fun Easter eggs like that. But yeah, I'm sure the multiverse will allow for things like that as well. So, all right. So anyway, the episode starts with Loki in the void with the other Lokis. And the first thing that popped up was Alioth, which we talked also is all of us probably had to pause, check, rewind, check captions. What did he just say? And then go Google what that was. Alioth was basically a giant cloud monster, temporal entity outside of time, stronger than a whole bunch of things. Mike, you mentioned it's also got some adversarial relationships with Kang. Tons of Kang Easter eggs in this episode, which I'm sure we'll touch on as we go as well. I do want to say, though, that Alioth is a cooler version of the Lost Cloud Monster, but I also started thinking, there was a bunch of time stuff going on with Lost, and I wonder if it was like an Alioth baby or something. So I just want everybody to sit on that for a little bit, okay? I mean, it might make us feel a little bit better about Lost. Not a lot of bit, but a little bit. So, so when we started off this episode this way, and you guys saw that, and what was going through your minds?
Mike, you got it. No, Eddie, you please, I insist.
Oh, cool. Well, this is weird because let me bring my volume down a little bit. My God, I don't know what to expect. I mean, obviously that's gonna be that's gonna be a problem. But you're just curious, like, well, what does it do if you're running away from it for so long? How did you survive for so long? Where have you been? Like, it can't go through certain places for it to find you, and like, what does it do? To be honest, I was curious what would happen when he got transported to this realm, this purgatory, because we had no idea what the I'm blanking on the word right now. What happens when people get pruned? And so to show up here, it was like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, but there's a problem in this place. That's crazy. Okay, go on. He explains what it is, and they're just constantly on the run. I didn't know what to think. I had to do that homework because I was like, what is this purple cloud? Like, what is this thing? I didn't know that it was a trans-temporal entity that fought Kang at some point. That's insane. Yeah. I think actually Kang uses it as almost like a protection. I think that's kind of how it works. Am I wrong about that? Or
they were more adversaries the entire time, and from what I know of the history of it, there's a point where Kang dies and Ravonna leases Alioth his world and messes everything up. But they were never like buddies. It was very much like they fought each other a lot.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You got any other thoughts on Alioth, Mike?
I kind of was one. I would say, listen, I know it's a show, and they have to skip a couple beats, but I found it very interesting that all the Lokis were right next to Loki when he landed. They either knew he was coming or timing was just funky, and they were willing to help him right away rather than when we talk about a couple of scenes further, it seems like there's a whole group of Lokis or that are not good. So dynamics seem to happen very quickly. Again, it's a show, I'm not going to nitpick, but it was really interesting that it was very much hey, we're going to help you, come with us, let's get out of here. And they seem to be able to get away from Alioth rather quickly. and Alioth is a big part of. Talk about the end of the show, but it was kind of a little bit all over the place. But he said when I looked up Alioth, and we'll talk about this more, but everything in this episode has to do with Kang. We'll talk about what we think towards the end, but it was just like everything is Kang.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it.
I got you. Yeah, and like you said, they do start running around together. Our Loki is wondering what the hell's going on, especially when I thought they were peacocks at first, but there's some sort of like chicken with no head that has a ball as a head that's floating off of its neck or something. I don't know. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. And the Lokis are just telling them like, look, we're just trying not to die. Okay. So just deal. Right. And you don't see a ton of Easter eggs at this point, I don't think.
Well, you see the city in the background technically.
That's the one
there.
Yeah. So one of them's Mike. You were mentioning Kang, the what's it called? The company that he has, right?
It's technically the rundown Avengers building.
Yeah.
But instead of the Avengers symbol, it has I'm going to call it Quang. I don't really know how to say it correctly, but it's Qeng.
Yeah.
That is technically the company of the alias of Kang in the comics.
Right. Is that what you're going to say, Eddie?
Yeah, Tony Stark sold that to, I can't remember the character's name in the comics, but ultimately it was Kang.
I think it's Nathan Richards.
Yeah, I think it was
something.
Yeah.
Nathaniel Richards
Kang.
or something like that.
Well, I know
Right.
Kang in general is meant to be, or potentially, an offshoot of the Richards Fantastic Four family. But anyway, that's a whole nother set
Actually, I only had one thing.
Yeah,
When
hit
they
it.
were like pushing through all of like the void,
Yeah.
and like you're seeing all of like all the destruction. There were a few like spots that I kind of like wanted to poke out real quick. The Sanctum Sanctorum was
Yep,
there.
I saw
don't know if
that.
you guys saw that at all.
Yeah.
That was super weird.
Yeah.
The Avengers Tower, which was named Kang, and they also had one that was to the left. It was called Kang Park 2018.
Oh.
There's a theory out that this particular world might be like if Thanos snapped in 2018 and like nothing else happened. Like it was like and just Kang just took over in 2018. That was like one theory that might have been a thing, because I mean for him to have the Stark Tower and then for him to destroy the Santorum and then have this place called 2018 Kang Park, it all kind of like ties in together. It kind of feels weird. Yeah, just wanted to mention those things.
Gotcha. Okay. So then it cuts back to the TVA. We've got Sylvie and Ravonna, obviously. And they're chit-chatting a little bit, talking about, what's going to happen. Sylvie's looking for some information. And at some point, Ravonna actually convinces her that Sylvie needs Ravonna to help her get through this. And she needs to trust her. And Sylvie gives her the temp pad back at the moment. And I have to admit, I was like, why are you trusting? I mean, it was just so fast. This woman's been chasing you forever.
Entire life.
Yes, and you're just like, all right, that's cool. Yeah, let's do this together. I'm like, as far as Mike's point earlier, I get it's a TV show and all that, and you can't really find a way to build trust. And at the same time, you know what, Lokis are pretty smart and manipulative, so I'd kind of let it go. But I will say that at one point there, I wasn't liking that. So, Miss Minutes gets involved, and they're looking into info, the beginning of time, the end of time, all that stuff. And Miss Minutes is going through it, and Sylvie gets pretty impatient. And Miss Minutes like, well, what about the, time ship or whatever it was? And it was kind of like, okay, that's weird. And then the whole thing was a trap. They were just delaying for a trap. Now, one of the things I want to ask you guys is, and we talked about this briefly off camera, but I actually took it as that was Miss Minutes' idea to delay it longer. And one of you guys said, oh, it was a delay the whole time. That was not a Miss Minutes thing. And you guys expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, Mike.
So I thought as soon as they started doing as soon as they gave her the time pad and she was communicating with Miss Minutes, I thought like it's almost like doing like a silent alarm.
Right.
That's the way I took it as. And the way Ravonna was talking to Sylvie and Miss Minutes, it was very much like let me figure it out. And even Miss Minutes was like, I think you can look at that sort of, and just the whole thing was like wasting time. And
right.
As soon as they brought up this fake spaceship that just so happened to be created to be able to go through like of nothing. Like that was just like, I was like, all right, guys, like, come on. Again, I just knew where it was going the entire time, where it was like, this is way too convenient. Felt like a trap. And there was one point, I think, where Miss Minutes goes just a little bit longer, and that's one of those things where it was like, someone's coming.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You got anything to
So
add there?
I took it as right off the bat.
Okay.
For that.
Right, that was a trap.
Yeah.
I love how it feels like Renslayer was kind of hard to figure out. Like, because at first it felt like she was kind of going to be like, you need my help to get out of this, and they were going to like form some kind of like weird alliance. And you're like, all right, this is weird.
Yeah.
And then when she hands him at the 10 pad, I was like, that was a poor decision. But again, like you said, Thor, like Lokis are they're manipulative, they're slick, and they're clever like that. And so when she hands it to her, I was like, oh well, she might get that back. And so when she brings up Ms. Minutes is going through doing the classic, let me just go through this whole, just give me 1 second, and you're like, okay, what are you waiting for? Like, just you're all of time, you should be able to find it like that. It's
It was going through a Rolodex, like
forever. But like you run this Rolodex, like you're the librarian in this piece, like you should know where everything is. So it was weird that it took so long. But I love the scene where Renslayer extends her hand out to Sylvie, and she shakes it, like doesn't let go, and you're like, oh, she knows. Like it was obvious that she picked up on that. And so then they pop in the Minutemen, yeah. I was, yeah, thank you, because I always feel weird saying it because it's 2021, whatever. And so they pop in, and then she ducks up. She ducks up behind the
bench,
court, the bench, Which I was like, well, what's gonna happen now? Like, what are her options? Because now she's cornered, and Renslayer's trying to convince her to come out, and then she pulls a fast one, which I absolutely loved. What a quality move. Yeah,
the self pruning, and that's kind of like the next thing where she prunes herself, which I did. I'm like, how is she gonna get there? What? She doesn't even, I guess she knows what happened, but she doesn't know that she's gonna live. She doesn't know that he's alive or anything. She just, it's kind of like the moment is, I think.
No, not well, kind of, not. So, sorry to cut you off.
No, I want to hear.
There was a little bit of basing it off what Ravonna did tell her.
Right.
She did say he is alive, but it's in a part of space that is.
Oh, at the end of time.
Yeah. It gave her the answer, but it was one of those things where to trust that it was correct.
Didn't she? Right. I thought Ravonna said, "What if I told you it was alive?" And then she expanded on that. I didn't register my brain. Granted, I watched it at like 3 a.m, so. That's probably why.
I think it was very much like she could have been lying, but she had to take it as true.
Okay. And then, and the catalyst to just push her to that point was, I think Ravonna said something like, haven't you ever had a good moment in your life ever? And she's like, just one. And it was her moment with Loki. And which, again, props to whoever said that there was love going on in this. I don't remember who that was.
I don't think that's true, but go on.
Yeah. There's some sort of weird love affection going on. But anyway, so she does it at that moment, and she wakes up in the bus, right? And she's just looking around, and Alioth is immediately on her, just immediately. So she just has to start jetting out of there. And as Alioth kind of starts surrounding her a little bit, she just puts up her hand. And I don't know if it was intentional or accidental or whatever, but it's like an enchant comes out, and she sees something there, which we'll get into later because we get to see it. But
I'd call it a castle. I mean, you visually could see it. It was like some sort of castle.
True. If you were,
castle like a rock ring.
Yeah, exactly. So it was kind of like, okay, which I thought was very, very interesting at the time. And then obviously Mobius drives up in his pizza car. She jumps in, and they start driving off. No jet ski, pizza car, whatever. But so yeah, there's a lot. It's
a start.
Yeah, it's a start. Maybe. We'll see what happens. So there was a lot I just threw out there. Was there anything in all of this that you guys were picking up? Eddie, what about you?
I want to go back 1 second to a theory that someone had put out there. There's so many other theories to read about. It's ridiculous. Yeah. But I want to discuss it because it's here. So we know that everybody in the TVA is a variant of some kind brought into TVA to work for the TVA. TVA. Yeah. There's a theory that obviously Kang runs this joint, and the pen, the FDR pen that Renslayer uses. Maybe at some point when Kang was a child, he had some kind of affinity for this woman, and when Kang became older, he went back in time, kidnapped Renslayer, made her a variant in the TVA, and that's kind of how he's like, and maybe now she's stuck there. Because I feel like when they were talking about how, because I think when you talked to B15, there was a moment of like, I feel like she sort of believes in the TVA and sort of doesn't. She's trying to find the truth too. That's why it's so hard to read her. Go ahead, Mike.
No, the only thing that I was going to say, if we're going to the B15 conversation, the one thing I've taken out of all of this would come to the realization that someone is controlling the TVA, and the TVA is, call it, a fake entity with a bunch of variants, but she doesn't want to stop it. She just wants to know who's doing it, which is very different dynamic than Mobius, because Mobius wants to take everything down, like free everyone, anything like that. Ravonna is still very much, I'm not going to say anything to anyone. I just want to know who's doing this. Like, it's almost like she wants to see who actually has the real power, because I feel like she has kind of like a little power herself in
power
it.
Hungry, yeah.
And I feel like there's if she really was a bad thing, it would be like, what can we do to stop it? A lot of it is like, want to see who's doing it to either, if we're going by, the history in the comic books, relationship there or connection there or whatever, but she's still very much, after knowing what is very much the truth, still not trying to stop it. It's just kind of like, we're still going to stay quiet, but I'm going to figure out what's going on.
Right. She wants to get to the bottom.
In that case, it's never going to work out well.
Yeah.
No, never. Because you'll be stopped before you even find the truth. No, I agree with that. It seems like she doesn't want to stop it. She just wants to figure out what's happening, which is way worse. I feel like than trying to stop it, because I think
wants to meet the leader and be like, can I
right now you're putting yourself in a position to hey, can I be your second in command, your right hand? It's not a good look. Sorry, you can continue, Thor.
No, it's all good. I was very curious to see where you guys were at with a lot of the stuff that was going on. I'm glad you brought up B15. We didn't talk about that pre-shoot, and I actually forgot to write that down, and that was a critical part in that. And and there is some sort of something happening with Ravonna that is, you can tell while she's clearly a villain, there was part of me, at least, who believed her for a second for maybe wanting to help. And I think that ties in with that concept of the B15 conversation. So we'll see how it ultimately plays out. I think it's likely that she maybe knows or has some memory of loving somebody or something, which maybe that's how it ties to Kang at some point. And that's why she wants to figure this out, because that part of her memory is not there. But we'll see. All right. So let's see. So after they drive off, it cuts off and they go back. The show goes back to the Lokis going inside their underground lair. This is probably my two favorite Easter eggs, with the Thanos chopper and Throg. I know there was a lot more there, but those were definitely my two favorite, just because the ridiculousness of the Thanos chopper. And Throg has just been talked about so much that it was just nice that they actually, and if you listen, I actually think that's Chris Hemsworth's voice when they do it. I think they probably just used something from a Thor movie. It sounds very much like him.
I think they used the same sound effects when he was falling out of the sky in the first Avengers, when he's going on and off the glass.
Yeah, I can see that.
They might use the same sound effects for that one.
Yeah.
That was dope, though. I thought that was pretty funny.
Let's see. So if I remember right, the Lokis are all having wine and discussing their Nexus events where the alligator ate the wrong cat,
and juice box.
Was it a juice? Oh yeah, one. Oh, is it because it's the ecto cooler, right?
Right. Loki's having a juice box.
Yeah.
Right. Kid Loki was, and then Classic Loki and Boastful Loki both had chalices, and then they gave our Loki just a cup of
like a little,
how they all operate.
Spot of wine. So yeah, I mean, that goes on for a while. There's a lot of dialogue there, and I'm not necessarily going to jump into per se, but if you guys want to bring something up, but the part of it is that eventually our Loki decides he wants to go for Goliath. And President Loki's waiting at the door. But so all of that conversation, and there's actually Easter eggs in there. Some of them just general human Easter eggs with some of the games and stuff in there. But what were you guys kind of taking away when you were seeing all these guys chatting? Eddie, it sounded like you had something specific you wanted to hit.
Yes, I want to take a step back for a second. If you watch while they're walking around, the void, a couple other Easter eggs.
Oh yeah.
Yellow Jacket's helmet from Ant-Man is there, giant helmet. And then if you look, like when they're stopping to talk in certain places, there's like lunch trays like stacked up high next to them. It's like the TVA doesn't clean dishes; they just prune it and send it up to somewhere else. And just like there was like mounds of like these lunch trays like everywhere. It was insane.
I didn't notice that, but that's honestly amazing.
And then, so you had said that the conversations that they were having in the room weren't that important, but actually it kind of is, and it kind of does towards the end of the episode, which we'll get to when we come back.
Yeah.
But I love how classic Loki talks about how he survived Thanos.
Yeah.
Because what we know
you're
is,
right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So what we know is Loki is that he comes out from behind after Thanos has invaded the ship, and he goes to kill Thanos, not knowing that he has the Power Stone and the Mind Stone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
No, Power Stone and the Space Stone. Space.
Yes.
So he has those. Goes to kill him. Kills Loki. Chokes him. Done. Classic Loki explains that in his reality, he fooled Thanos. Thought he killed him, really didn't, and then he exiled to like he turned himself into debris, and then like essentially just kind of floated through space, ended up on a planet in space, and just like floated through space, ended up in a planet by himself alone. He hit his debris, which there was a note that he'd said that, what does it say here? That floating debris can be a Loki in disguise after he fakes his death. That being said. There was a theory back in Endgame when our Loki got choked out. If you look up like in the upper left and like the upper half of the shot, there's like debris floating by on the screen, and a lot of people thought that was Loki. There were so many people that were like, that's gotta be him, like Loki's not really dead, yada yada yada. What classic Loki says here is important towards the end of the show, so I'll come back to this.
Yeah.
But I just want to say that his whole like story is somewhat important. I mean, this is Richard Grant. We're not going to use him for just one episode and be like, all right, he's out like that. No, he signed on for 2. There's no reason for 1. And Mike, I think we have a theory on that as well. I love the stories that they said ate the wrong cat. I love how Kid Loki killed Thor. By the way, we didn't talk about that.
Yeah, I forgot.
that's random. And then Boastful Loki talks about how he killed Captain America and Iron Man, which I thought was kind of funny. Which I'm curious if he actually did or not.
Yeah,
because
that seemed a little like okay. And then he got the Infinity Stones. I'm like, all right,
it seemed what?
Yeah,
boastful.
I was like, yeah, exactly, right. So, Mike, what about you? What other conversations in there, items that you kind of liked or picked up on?
Well, I would say that conversation that Eddie's talking about is pretty much when we talk about the end. And I will say, when we do talk about the end, I thought that end was phenomenal for classic Loki. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
But it was very, I guess they call it foreshadowing. It was very much foreshadowing. It was also interesting. I think they actually also said that I took interest in is I think they said that land that they're on is technically Kid Loki's
kingdom,
like his almost port, like his timeline.
Interesting.
Oh.
They said he is like the master of this land or the kingdom.
Yeah,
of
I know
this
they
land.
said that it was his kingdom, and I didn't necessarily know why they determined that. I just kind of let it go.
I thought they said, I thought they were saying that like it's his timeline that they're theoretically in, and everything is like falling into that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You might be right. Honestly,
I could be wrong, but I took it as they were saying like that, which I thought was very interesting. That there is like I thought this was just like a random offshoot of crap falling into it.
Yeah.
Right.
But it would be very interesting to see if this was like it used to be like a version of Asgard or a part of what Asgard was or whatever that's just sitting there. But yeah, those were the two main things.
Okay.
Also, the Polybius game in the background. I just want to mention that. That was cool.
That's
Love that.
Did you want to dive into that at all, or for anybody who doesn't know?
I mean, for those that don't know, Polybius was a game that was, I think it was introduced in Portland, somewhere in Oregon. Mm-hmm. It's an urban legend claiming that the government rigged the game for hypnosis and mind control over the users that played the game. Yeah, and the fact that it was in the show is hysterical. Like, I don't even know. I'm not sure if they created that or found one. Like, but that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, those type of Easter eggs are fun too. What was the other one? the plane, the Cooper. You know,
Oh,
just,
DB Cooper.
Yeah. Just like throwing stuff like that out there is, it's very
And
X-Files.
also the battleship.
Yeah, the USS Aldrich.
Aldrich. Yeah, what's the story behind that one? I wanted to look that up. I don't know that story.
So from what I know, the USS Aldrich, I think what they talked about, it was supposed to be a ship, apparently that had like environmental stuff on it where it could be undetectable to radar.
Yeah.
But the urban legend is that the ship disappeared and appeared in a totally different area. And I think that was like a callback to that urban legend. So like it disappeared and then reappeared in this world.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
Like the
cool.
Like it was like a disappearing ship, I guess is the easiest way to describe it.
Gotcha.
During like World War II, I think.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, I figured that was something there, and I didn't look it up because I was like, I'll look that up later. But all right, so then it jumps back to Mobius and Sylvie again. They're essentially again quite a bit of dialogue. I won't say any of it's not important, but it was solid dialogue, basically back and forth about how what the TVA was being bad, and she made a joke about okay, so chasing little girls and and he's like, well, yeah, I guess if you think the means justify the ends. But they're clearly doing some minor bonding and trying to figure things out. And Sylvie decides that she needs to go back to Eliath and thinking that that's the key. So obviously both Loki and Sylvie are now thinking this. Was there anything in the car that these two were chatting about that you guys want to touch on before I go back to the Lokis and the President Loki and all that?
I just felt like it was like
that was a conversation with her and Mobius you're talking about, right?
Yeah, in the car,
Right.
where she eventually gets to the point where she's just like, we need to go back to Eliath.
I just felt like that conversation was pretty simple. Sorry, I felt like it was one of those things of just kind of like clearing the air. You're like, hey, like I did this because I had to do this, and you were just part of what I didn't know was a problem. I'm sorry, you were a problem. I thought I was told by the TVA that you were this problem, but really you weren't. You're this person trying to do this, and you're actually trying to help us out. So I just thought that was one of those kind of like clearing the air kind of moments.
Yeah, that's
sorry.
how I
Mike,
looked at.
continue.
Mike, you good? You agree?
No, I think it was. I think Mobius has been pretty open to like the realization of things going on, and then the way she described how she was treated by the TVA.
Yeah.
It was like another like light bulb for Mobius. Like when you put it like I tracked you like a dog for your entire life, I guess that's not the right thing to do.
Yeah. Good point, Mobius. All right, so then it goes back to the Lokis again because, our Loki saw President Loki at the top of the hatch or whatever. Again, another Lost reference. Interesting.
Hey.
President Loki brought his whole army down, They're like going to take over, and they find out that boastful Loki turned on them all. And then it's just basically this like, this Loki turned on that Loki, this Loki turned on this Loki, and then, the army of Lokis turned on their own. It's just like, okay, all right. And our Loki is just sitting in the corner like, what the hell are these idiots doing? Which is pretty hilarious because they're all him for the most part.
Right.
And
Looking in the mirror.
yeah, exactly. and you could tell he's almost like, this is so dumb. Like, why are these people like this? And I'm sure that's going to be a big part of self-reflection on him. You can see his character evolution happening. It's like becoming a quote unquote good Loki. One of my favorite parts is when just before the fight starts, the Loki jumps on the President Loki's hand and bites it off. And then it just is like fighting everywhere and people are shooting things. And our Loki, the classic Loki, and Kid Loki basically poured a lot of there because the classic Loki did some visions and all that type of stuff. But
It mimics of them.
yeah,
acting like-
exactly. I thought it was fun. Was there any other stuff that you guys saw in there that you guys kind of liked or thought was cool?
Don't point at me. No, I just pretty simple scene. I think it was a nice little misdirect. I think we all thought that our Loki was going to be President Loki, but it turned out it was just all the Lokis.
Just hilarious.
That was cool. Kind of a small callback. Remember in I think it was Ragnarok when Thor's carrying Loki out, he's like, I've got to get help, and then he throws Loki at the agents. Kind of a similar reference with what Kid Loki did with the
alligator
Loki Gator.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, and I'm just classic Loki. That little move he pulled by making clones of them, by making like visions essentially of them was actually pretty cool. And you're like, oh, so he's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Like that's impressive because like we've only seen a handful of things from from Sylvie. We saw her enchant people. We saw Loki stop a tower, and we saw classic Loki create duplicates of all three of them and just kind of bounce out of there, which I thought was pretty impressive. So like every time we meet a new Loki, like we're meeting we're seeing like the next level of his power that has never been shown before.
Right. Yeah, he's getting stronger and stronger for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And he doesn't know it at all. Like he just thinks that he's I don't want to say his skills are basic, but like he's never had to push the limits of them really. I don't think he hasn't really had the means to. I mean, like classic Loki had to learn. We'll get there when we get there. I don't want to get there. I don't want to get ahead. But go ahead.
Yeah. Mike, you got anything to add to that?
No, I would just say like some funny parts, like everyone turning on each other was very like
Hilarious.
I don't want to say you saw it coming, but it was like as soon as they started talking about like who wants power controlling the land, I was like all of them.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I would really say is the vibe I got, especially with normal Loki in that scene, was like I'm gonna call it like a Pirates of the Caribbean, like Jack Sparrow, like him walking through like the fighting. That was the only thing that I like got from that, where he was like pretty much him for the first time not trying to be in the mix. He was like, I'm trying to get out of here.
Yeah.
Which I think Thor, you mentioned as like a good character arc. Like we've seen a lot of that in like these 5 episodes. He's really kind of like changed everything. And it's just funny how like it took Thor 2. It took until Ragnarok for him to actually have that sort of revelation. That was like what, like 10, 15 movies at that point?
Yeah, I mean,
we were way deep into this.
Yeah.
And he's having it now, which is great. It shows that people can change, man. They really can. And but I do like that after they through all the chaos, he's just kind of walking out of there like, this is ridiculous. I'm not gonna be a part of this.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so as they're leaving, they go on their little, run around. I think there's some more Easter eggs that we see. Eddie, I know you were going to want to hit on one. And they I already mentioned they see Sylvie, right? Did I talk about that? No.
Oh, they haven't met Sylvie yet.
So as they're leaving, they eventually run into Sylvie, right? And they're going to hatch a plan. Before we get into that, do you want to throw a couple Easter eggs out there? I don't think we covered one of them. I know one, Eddie, you wanted to hit one for sure.
There's a couple. The Santa Maria shows up there, which is I believe it was a boat used by Columbus, if I'm correct. And
Nina Pinta and Santa Maria, I think is what they were.
Yeah. And then there was a UFO behind that one, which I thought was weird. And then there was one that might have been Red Skull's like spinning copter from Captain America: The First Avenger. And then we saw the Thanos copter. We saw a warhead. I think that might have been it. I think that was when the USS Eldridge shows up at that point. I'm not sure if we're there yet, but the Dark Aster was there, which was Ronin's ship in Guardians of the Galaxy.
I think it was around that. It was around this time. Yeah.
I think it might have been a little bit later, but yeah. Also, which I want to mention now just to get out of the way, because I know that our next topic of discussions are very deep. There was a crashed helicarrier that was in one of the. It was in the background behind Loki, which had the Hydra symbol on it. Which plot point? What if back in Winter Soldier, if Project Insight was actually a success?
Yeah. And
murdered everybody. And that would make it so that Hydra doesn't really have to hide anymore. Hence, they have these helicarriers. It makes sense that the symbol would be on there.
Yeah.
Just saying.
No, I think that's true and cool.
Kind of wild.
Yeah.
So.
Easter Egg City episode.
Yeah,
where you
it really was crazy.
It was like a Easter egg what if.
Right.
Yeah. And did you mention the Living Tribunal? You already hit that, right?
Oh no, yeah, I think it was towards the end, but yeah, there's the head of the Living Tribunal was there as well, which was in the comic. They mentioned it in Doctor Strange too. I believe it's one of the weapons that he was explaining when he was fighting Stephen Strange. But he says the staff of the Living Tribunal, I think is what he was using.
Yeah, that's what Mordo's weapon was. Yeah.
But yeah, it's the three-headed cosmic judge of the multiverse. Yeah. For its head to be there, though, was very interesting. I don't know why.
Well, it was a stone. I think it was just a stone version of that, so it could have been a statue of some sort. But
true.
I mean, who knows?
Still pretty dope.
Yeah. All right. Before we get into kind of our last little chunk of the show, which is a bigger chunk, Mike, or Eddie, is there any other Easter eggs you want to hit, or some topics we haven't got on?
I mean, I would say we pretty much hit like the Easter eggs were, I would say, the most important.
Yeah.
And then yeah, pretty much they are out of there, and a pizza delivery car
Love it.
on them.
Yeah. So as they're hatching this plan, they're talking some more, figuring some stuff out. I don't remember, you guys are have to correct me again. It was late when I was watching, but if the dialogue was critical other than getting to the plan. So as they're getting to it, it's obviously Sylvie and Loki are going to go fight Goliath. The two other Lokis, Kid Loki and Classic Loki, are going to go on their way. And Mobius is going to go burn down the TVA. Kid Loki has this nice moment where he gives the sword to our Loki. Classic Loki is just kind of like, bye, see you later. The Mobius hug I thought was very sweet. I like it. I thought it was funny how he said, so he told Sylvie she was his favorite. And like I said, he's just going to go burn the TVA down. And then Sylvie and Loki get ready to go fight Goliath. And it's a pretty cool scene where they're just standing at the top of this hill, and it's just like Goliath is in this valley in front of them, and I don't know. It was a pretty cool, epic scene in my mind, especially for a TV show. Before we get into the fight, is there anything you guys want to add?
You go, Mike.
The only thing I don't think we really talked about it. There was kind of I would call it an important scene between Loki and Sylvie, where they're kind of talking to each other before.
Oh, with the blanket. Yeah.
And it was more or less, and I think it's somewhat of a callback to an earlier conversation that Loki was having
about how they love each other.
But I think she was basically like, not gonna like turn on me, and he was like, and he said something along the lines of, I forget the phrasing
I've
he used.
turned on everybody who's ever loved me. I think that's what it was. Something along those lines.
Right. Yeah. And it was basically, he was like, I got your back, more or less.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. That was a huge character development scene in my mind. So that's a good call. Good call.
So that I would say, going back before this happens, that was important because, I mean, I would say that actually the callback is in the lair when all the Lokis are turning on themselves. That is like the true representation of Loki. Mm-hmm. And this is finally where he's like, I'm not going to be that guy. Like, we're here to the end. And if you look at it too, and we'll talk about what happens, but he's been pretty self-sacrificing with at least Sylvie through the entire time. So I think it was an important, call it, character development of maybe where the progression is keep going further, whether you call him an anti-hero or whatever he's going to be in the future of the MCU. And it's kind of like his business of being like, I can be good.
I agree. All right. So let's see, we're getting into the fight now, right? So let's see. So basically Goliath, Loki takes the sword that he got from Kid Loki, lights it on fire, he's off the side trying to distract Goliath so that Sylvie can enchant it. It's not working at all. He keeps trying. Goliath starts, running towards her. I think he runs back to her. It looks like they're basically gonna die. And then Classic Loki shows up and just straight up like conjures a planet. Asgard.
He just conjures Asgard.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying it was like
just
it
next
was
level
just like
power.
this giant thing. He's just like, oh, and I'm like,
A lot of you that I would say that was for just a TV show and again, it's all like that looked like one of the cooler things.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Like I rewatched that twice. That was pretty epic.
Yeah.
Like if that happened in a like Avengers movie, I'd be like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
It was awesome. The way it happened was sorry, effing badass.
Yeah, it's all right. What about you, Eddie? What'd you think?
No, I thought that was great, and like I feel like you kind of had an idea when they were all kind of saying their goodbyes and all that stuff. Also, I want to talk about when Mobius was talking about the gator. He goes, "I don't remember ever bringing in a gator." It's like, which might speak to the fact that he's been multiple clones. Like he might not have, that version of Mobius might not have seen it, but maybe someone else did. Moving forward, so Mobius offers Kid Loki and Classic Loki a chance to come back to TVA and kind of escape, and they both turn it down in one way or another. And then there's a moment when they're walking away when classic Loki looks back and you first you're like he's gonna come back, like we know it because
I think he was coming back for sure.
Yeah, like that look back.
No
was
one
so...
ever looks back and doesn't go back.
No, every time they always look back and then they have a reason. So when Loki's trying to distract Goliath and then not help working out, my man shows up and just conjures like a next level move by like literally recreating Asgard, which was like the ultimate misdirect. Goliath rolls over and starts to like eat it up. Nothing's happening, and finding out it's just an illusion. Yeah, Mike, that was a dope scene. Like it's just like, what is this dude doing? Super sick, and in result makes the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah.
His glorious purpose.
That's right.
Should we push forward here, or should we wait?
It's coming to that point where it's like,
Right.
Sylvie and Loki are trying to enchant it,
Right.
and it's not really necessarily working. And that's my next note here is that, classic Loki goes down with glorious purpose, and Sylvie and Loki are basically holding hands, and she's motivating him to figure out how to enchant. And he's like, I can't. I don't know if he says he can't, but he's clearly doubtful. And she says, you can do it. She's like, cause you're me or I'm you or whatever, however she says it. And eventually she says, close your eyes. And they both close their eyes. And it's just like right in the next time, boom, it just goes green.
Whips through.
Yep. And it just,
That's wild.
So they enchant it and then opens up to just the castle that we saw before, which has actually it was dropped in another episode somewhere, or a teaser trailer somewhere. And yeah, so this is where it kind of like, it's a cosmic castle of some port. The episode's essentially over. So, talk about what I just said there in front of it if you want, and feel free to dive into whatever the hell theory you think is happening.
I have one question to go back to that, is when they enchanted it, did they destroy it or they just made it disappear?
I don't even know if it's disappeared. I think it just turned green and opened up. I don't, like it seemed to still be there.
I like the head of it like kind of disappeared. It like all kind of went away. So I don't know if they destroyed it or enchanted it to like go to bed. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but yeah. I wasn't sure if they like killed it. Thing that I was gonna say was, think there's been like a very big connection when Sylvie and Loki are touching each other, and I feel like that's almost what created like the Nexus event, like almost like their power combining, if you will. Like you said, Thor, as soon as they started holding hands, kind of like reinvigorated Loki to like, or like know how to enchant. And it was also right around the time again, I think, when Goliath was coming at them to like eat them.
Yep.
So I think there is very much of like when they're about to die, like more power comes out of Loki, especially like what his actual strength is. And this castle. Say it. Say it.
Say it. Just say it.
It's Kang's castle. It's
okay.
Kang.
I don't think it's Kang, but go on.
Who is it? Who is it? Who is it, Thor? Give me a name.
Theory.
I want to hear what Eddie has to say, and then
I'll hear what Eddie has to say.
Yeah.
All right, I got a theory. All right. Again, another like this is a long shot, but it's not terrible. Okay, so classic Loki shows up. He makes Asgard, sacrificing himself to help Sylvie and our Loki get through. Right. Glorious purpose. When Goliath is coming in to essentially eat him up, there's still a little bit of magic left in his hands before it just swallows him up. That's it. And then all you see is the crown, kind of like, like it's like it's been through like multiple years of damage. He's gone.
What years or was it bloody? I thought it was bloody.
I thought it was just like damaged.
Usually
when like Goliath eats something, it kind of like ages faster.
Yeah,
like when
if you look at the
bus that Sylvie was in, it kind of just like rusted it up.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So that happened, right? Okay. There's a theory that he might have pulled like and we'll call it like an Obi-Wan Kenobi. Remember in A New Hope when he kind of sacrificed himself and he just and he goes away and comes back as a ghost later in Empire Strikes Back. Okay. So earlier, Classic Loki mentioned that floating debris can be a Loki in disguise, which the whole endgame theory that we had before. When the portal opens up and we see the castle on the rock with the ring in it, there's some debris floating off to the side of the castle, which could be Classic Loki. Now, again, I'm reaching. this is a massive reach, but because he had said no to leaving with Mobius, right? That was like some next level sorcery that he probably learned when he was on that planet by himself for X amount of years. He was there before he decided to leave because he was lonely, right? So he fakes his own death, right, to essentially lure Sylvie and Loki into this castle. I feel the theory says he might be the character He Who Remains, who was like the OG creator, like the oldest dude on the planet, which makes sense because Richard Grant is kind of old. And he built like literally everything in the show, from the TVA to the timekeepers to all this other jazz. So there's a chance that he could be in that castle. The theory, I mean, it's plausible. I'm just saying.
Mike's shaking his head, but that's definitely one of the things I think it could be He Who Remains.
Right. I would love it if it was.
You guys are children.
I would love it if it was Kang, because everything is pointing in that direction for sure. But we're not supposed to see him until Quantumania, which is like another year and a half from now.
They never said you're supposed to see him until Quantumania. All they said that he's going to be the main villain in Quantumania. And he was signed as the villain before they started production on this show. So,
well, okay. All I'm going to is some guy that I know, I trust. He's a smart, good friend of mine. Always just telling me when I'm talking about theories for this show to stop thinking it's going to be bigger than what it is. It's just a show that's going to tie to the movies.
What the next 3 movies are about? A multiverse of madness everywhere. And you know who does that? Fucking Kang. Sorry, freaking Kang.
Yeah, you said Buck with a B. You know, it's yes, he was signed very early, and I suppose there's a chance that he could be in there. I think the 2 things that make me the most excited to see in there are He Who Remains or Kang. I'm personally expecting King Loki, just because it's like that's less exciting for me. If it was like Loki the whole time, while I think it's a little bit...
that would also kind of like be redoing the same bit from WandaVision where it was Vision versus Vision. I'd be like, are we doing this again? Like we're just recycling these ideas.
That's why I don't really love it. I just don't love it. I need this one to be a bit bigger because Mike, what do you got?
One little theory, and hear me out. Goliath was not only a guard dog for the world, he was a guard dog holding Kang prisoner in this world.
Yeah.
Loki defeating Goliath opens up Kang.
Yes. I could see. That I could see where the TVA was created by He Who Remains to hold Kang there trapped. Loki gets there. He's never supposed to get there, but he gets with Sylvie, and that's why it's such a Nexus event, because they're not supposed to be together, because it'll screw up and allow Kang to get out. And now that's exactly what's happening.
Also, it looked like, I know we've talked about how we think the TVA's world looked like the world in
Ant-Man and Wasp.
Ant-Man and Wasp, but also if you look at the castle in the background, it very much looks like the quantum realm behind it.
Looked very quantum-y is what as I watched it, that's what I said. That was what verbally came out of my mouth by myself at 2 a.m, where I was like, that looks very quantum-y.
I'm sorry, everything is pointing. Listen, I know you have your Mephisto thing, and we made fun of you for.
Hey, it wasn't just me, okay? That was not just my thing.
I was right behind him on that theory too. I was like, it's gonna be Mephisto.
But I will say, I think they're really straight shooting right now with Kang.
Okay.
I think they have to, whether they show him or not or whatever. I think when you have Ravonna Renslayer, I think when you have all the things that are pointed to Kang, when you have the next movies having to do with multiverse, the next 3,
yeah,
and Doctor Strange, Ant-Man and Wasp, all have to do with the multiverse.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Kang's the man.
Yeah. No, I could. I
Thanks,
mean,
man.
look, it's. I would not be upset if it was him in there. I wouldn't.
I wouldn't be.
I wouldn't. I think that's one of the top two in my mind between him and He Who Remains, but only because that would be the first sort of. I don't even know what to call them. They're not the Celestials, but the Celestial level characters in the Marvel universe. These the Living Tribunals, Infinity, like those type of level of characters. That would be like the first one at that magnitude. I know the Watchers were kind of like had a cameo or whatever. That didn't really count. Like plus they don't do
Not
anything
really.
anyway.
I think if it was another variant of Loki, I think that's just a cheap shit. Like
That would
I
be the
think,
biggest uppercut,
and
dude.
they've said from the very beginning this one show has more to do with the films than any of the other ones.
Yeah.
Like,
And also, it's getting a season 2, just so we're clear. Like, the other ones weren't. This one is, though.
Yeah, which I think is great. But I mean, I'll be interested to see how they do it. But
this one's the best. This one's the best show so far. Out of all.
I love it.
I would say second best, personally. That's just me.
To WandaVision?
Yeah, I love WandaVision. I
Yeah.
thought it was fantastic. I just enjoyed the emotional value
I'm
to
not
it.
saying it wasn't fantastic, but I think all around every single episode of one of these has been pretty like spectacular.
Yeah,
Bet.
the show has been absolutely great in my mind. The one thing I also
It's a
wanted.
boring episode.
Yeah, no, and remember I said I thought we were gonna maybe get a filler episode at some point. We didn't.
No. Well,
One filler-
kind of.
Well, the
one filler
character,
was
but
the Sylvie one, but that even as a filler, that wasn't.
it was a
boring
character
episode.
development though,
No, yeah, it's
because
character
one of you guys said it to me where you're like, well, you kind of had to develop the character and da 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 da. I was like, yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, so it was like, yeah, there was them going across Lamentus, but you had to have that episode so that you knew who she was and cared about her. And this leads me right into my point here, is that I now think that they're building Sylvie up to a big enough character where they're gonna axe her off. She's gonna get Game of Thrones styled. See you later. You're gone. We loved you. You can't stay.
Disney production, they don't do got baby.
I'm just saying. Just we had Quicksilver. Now he's gone. I know you're gonna say Wanda's gonna bring him back. I'm not hearing it.
I'd be shocked.
There wasn't under contract for more than one movie. That's why.
Well,
it
how
happened.
long is Sylvie's contract with the actress's name? I'm not sure her name, but
I haven't gotten the specifics of it.
all right.
but
Well, when you do, let us know. But I bet it's just one show or one one
she's
series.
loved to work as Sylvie in the future. So, yeah.
I love that. If
so-
she died next week, though, I'd probably kill myself. I'm like, really, dog?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I love her character. I love it. I need more of it. I mean, and that's what's happening with a lot of these series is they're introducing these characters that you want to see more of. Small ones to big ones. Even with Wanda, I was like, oh yeah, I want more of that. We talked about it when we did Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like even with Sam Wilson, I was like, I didn't really care about him as a character that much. I was more annoyed by Anthony Mackie and the way he did things. And now I'm like, nah, all right. And same thing with Bucky Barnes. I was like, whatever. Now I'm a little bit interested in their characters. So Sylvie, I know it's gonna break my heart. It's gonna break my heart. I just want to mention it to you guys. This is probably more therapy for me than anyone else by just saying that I think it's gonna happen. And yeah, so I don't know what else. Anything else you guys got before we sign on to this thing? What other theories that we haven't talked about, or what do you think's gonna happen next week?
I think I've been embarrassed enough by Mike to express my theories on this. It's again, it's not my theory.
Fun of you.
No, again, it's not my theory. It was a theory that I saw. I read. I think I saw and read about it. And I was like, that's a very deep theory. But I mean,
Mike's all
every
in on
time-
Kang. That's fine. If he's right,
Right.
good for him. If he's wrong, well, whatever.
I can't.
make fun of
Wait. If
him.
you're wrong, I cannot wait to be like, oh,
But-
Mike.
but-
Oh, word.
Kang. Dude, we're gonna text you
Real talk,
immediately.
if
as soon as we all know that
wrong-
we've all watched, it's gonna be like, no Kang
If
or
I'm
Kang.
wrong, you both can give me all the smoke. You can spend literally an hour just crapping on me all the entire time. I don't care. I will take
I don't care what time it is.
Like-
Mike, are you serious?
Yes, like literally it can be like any time you can throw like an egg in my face. I don't care.
Right.
We're gonna be playing football a year from now. I'm like, hey, well, Mike, remember when you said Kang was gonna be it? Yeah, no, when?
No,
Trash,
no,
Mike.
Or I've literally texted you like pictures of stores called Mephisto.
I
and
know.
It's fine.
I know.
If it is not Kang, then
No.
the dude who writes this show, which is the same dude who does Rick and Morty, I have no idea what he's doing.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, he's
Being
writing a
directed
good show. They have a good show going. I'm happy with it. You guys seem to be happy with it. I'm really looking forward to next week. Before we sign off, any last words?
Go ahead, Mike.
I have one thing that I wanted to talk about of a theory that I read, and very interesting theory, and I'll make it as quick as possible. But since there's 6 episodes, there's a theory going out there that each episode is revolved around the Infinity Stones. And hear me out. Episode 1, there's a connection to the Soul Stone. There's a lot of orange in the episode, and with the Time Variance Authority logos and the offices, a lot of orange. And also when Loki goes into the thing, the main thing he does is he through the thing to see if he has a soul.
Yeah.
Right.
Episode 2, there's a connection to the Reality Stone. A lot of the episode is shaded in red, and Sylvie first appears under a red light. Episode 3, connection to Power Stone. Episode has a lot of purple in it because of Lamentus, a lot of purple hue, and that has a connection to the purple Power Stone. Episode 4 is the Mind Stone, which is gold. A lot of gold in the episode when the TVA captures Loki and brings him back. 5 is a reference to the Time Stone. A lot of green in the episode. Everything's mostly green. Happens in episode 6. But I read this theory, and it was like one of those things where I was like, I can see the fact that it's only 6 episodes, and there's like, it has nothing to do with the Infinity Stones. It's a very like small side that if they're connecting to it, I liked.
Yeah.
So
All
the
right.
Space Stone's missing, right?
Yeah, which is the last episode.
Which last episode, which is almost like a space.
They're in space, baby.
They're in space. That's interesting. That's a very unique theory. I like that. That's good.
There was more to it, but that was like the quick. That's all I got to say. But
version.
Kang, I'm willing to bet my.
At Peloton?
Yeah.
Not my life. Not my life. I'm willing to bet my. What's it called? What is this? Like, what is my reputation?
Yeah,
I'm willing to bet my reputation on Discord.
You're fair enough.
Oh, Lord. Dude.
People on YouTube.
we'll-
I'm betting my reputation on it.
We'll still love you regardless.
bet.
So
Right? I will take all of the thank
the
yous.
smoke.
I know that you will. You will definitely be
just
rubbing it
want
in
to
our
be
face.
Cocky. I'm gonna be so cocky.
I know you are. I know you are. You are definitely.
Honestly, I'm gonna be the worst. Like, we can't talk about anything else. That's just we'll be talking about like What If or like Black Widow. Be like, hey, remember when Kang came?
Yeah.
Oh, we're okay. Cool. I was gonna say, actually, because Mike just mentioned it, I was gonna say, if you haven't seen the What If trailer, it is tits. It's so good. I'm so excited for this series. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
It's the opening
really
shot
good.
when Killmonger saves Tony, and you're like, oh, so he doesn't become Iron Man? Oh, what? How would that even go down? Like,
Yeah.
I'm so excited. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So
I'm excited for next week. It's been fun. Probably, I know, Eddie, you have your favorite. So, or you may have your favorite, but this so far probably has been my favorite. Out of
yeah, it was a
the
great
3.
episode. Great episode. I mean, it can only be top.
Show in general. I'm saying show in general.
Favorite
gotcha,
show.
yeah.
I'm torn, but I need to see how it ends.
Right.
I need how it ends. WandaVision, I was very into the entire way, talking about it, thinking about it, theorizing, looking it up way more than this one. That doesn't necessarily make that one better per se, but I was way more into it. So I need to see how it ends to final decide, but it's definitely between those two for me at least.
I think depending on how it ends will be how Thor ranks it. Like if it favors Mike, Thor's gonna be like, I hate the show.
No,
I think
no.
if it favors in Thor, he's like, I love this show. This is the best show ever.
I make this promise right now.
Oh my god.
My decision
If
will.
Kang isn't referenced at all, he's gonna be like, "This was the best TV show I've
No,
ever seen."
yeah, I promise you, I won't do that. Like it will be. Like Kang, like I said that, one of my more favorite options to happen here is have Kang. It's between Kang and He Remains is what I'd prefer, or some other weird, like I love being surprised, love it. When I'm like super stoked when I see something like that, that's why I hate spoilers. So yeah, like
spoilers at all.
Yeah. Whereas if it
0%.
was something else, it'd be like, all right, yeah, I was right, but this doesn't feel good. So I can promise you that. So,
Mobius.
Yeah, maybe it was
What
Mobius
if
the
he
whole
was
time.
the center? Yo, that would be so dope, though.
Yeah, if it's a
Him and
Mobius clone in there,
Ravana were very close. What if it was Mobius the entire time?
Oh, it was Mobius all along.
Bad gang.
that would be crazy. That would be crazy, honestly. So anyway, all right. So that's all we got, right? Nothing else before I sign off.
We'll
Okay.
get out of here. Love ya.
All right. So appreciate you guys if you made it this far. Thanks for watching. We'll definitely be back next week. We're planning on doing, other shows and stuff like that. We'll see if we can get together for Black Widow or not. It depends. That might be a little tough, but yeah. So, new channel. So definitely subscribe if you're checking this out. There's a Discord link in the description below. That makes it easier for her to follow along with any content that we put out there. Got this channel for the MCU. Got a couple other channels for gaming. Really just one for gaming at the moment. And we're going to do a giveaway once we get to 10,000 subscribers on the main channel. So make sure to subscribe to that one as well. Hammer down that like button, click notification bell. And until next time, we hope you have a wonderful day. See ya.